Good morning to everyone here, and also good evening to Ernest, who's joining us from the US. So I'm Gayathry, and I'm going to moderate the first session. As Faye mentioned earlier, this is looking at the future of journalism in this very not so new but exciting, possibly challenging environment with artificial intelligence. So we have a panel who's really esteemed, who's got a lot of years of experience to their names when it comes to journalism. And we're going to use this session, journalism and also new and fresh blood, I suppose, in terms of technology, because, we are now looking at integrating various aspects of different industries in terms of dealing with artificial intelligence. So we'll begin with Devin, who's joining us from Indonesia, who's the founder of a very interesting startup. If I'm not mistaken, maybe just in the last 1-2 years, together with his partners, focusing on providing AI support for education. We're keen to hear in terms of the role of the tech sector, the role of those who are looking at democratizing and opening up opportunities in technology, and how this can be relevant for the field of journalism and the sector. So Devin, the floor is yours. Just a reminder to our speakers, you have about 10 minutes to share your interventions and inputs, and we'll follow with discussions and also questions and inputs from the floor as well. So Devin, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Davin. I am the founder of Masa. And firstly, thank you to Awani, specifically AKA, and Ashwad, and also the University of Nottingham, Malaysia, for inviting me to be one of your speakers for today. Maybe a quick introduction about me. So I just graduated last year, actually. I was at Stanford for the last 5 years, did my bachelor's there, and then followed up with my master's. I did my master's with an AI focus, essentially. I am originally from Jakarta, Indonesia, and after graduating last year, so actually during my last semester of my master's program, I started building Masa AI, and we launched right after I graduated. So running the company with my brother today. And yeah, our team is based in Indonesia, and we're doing work in various industries. So maybe a little bit about Masa before I begin with the AI for media and journalism stuff. So we were originally an education technology company that wants to use AI to make education more interactive, more accessible, and more personalized and affordable for Indonesian students. We have a bunch of different features, different products with different features for schools, for students, and also for teachers and for parents as well. And the ecosystem of educational products that we created are all designed to achieve our mission, essentially. So although Masa is still super new, we're about to turn 1 year old next month, actually. Although we're still super new, the research that our technologies are based on, we've started the research maybe since 2021 or end of 2020. So it's actually been quite a few years. And yeah, we build our own models. We build our own AI models. We fine-tune open source models, and our main focuses are in natural language processing, which is made up of natural language understanding and natural language generation. You guys might be familiar with ChatGPT, and that is one of the applications of NLP, essentially. Other than that, we also do computer vision, and we have some predictive analytics models as well. So just glossing over these slides really quickly. So I guess what we realized after we started education, doing the education products, is that the education industry, especially in Indonesia where we're based, is very slow to adopt these adopt these new technologies, and it's a really, really long grind. So obviously, as a startup, you guys might be familiar with the typical startup model where they would raise and then burn all the money to push that one product, and then raise again, burn the money on marketing, and the cycle just repeats as you raise more and more, but you also burn more and more as well. So we're not interested in that kind of business model, and that's why we decided to branch out. Our AI models from the previous slide, this one, we realized could be repackaged, kind of like Lego blocks, actually, repackaged for various other use cases. And one of the use cases that we saw is in media. So, oh, sorry, this slide is not super updated, but right now, essentially, we have almost fully pivoted to um, kind of like an AI software house, where we build custom AI solutions for various businesses. We still also have our core products that we sell on a subscription basis as well. But yeah, we are in the industries that we're playing in right now are we're still in education, we're in media, we're in mining, financial services, manufacturing, etc. So literally just a full B2B AI solutions company. Um, and let's go to the media stuff. Yeah, so we have a few projects ongoing right now in the media industry. So I guess these are some of the applications that we have built or are building for our various partners in the industry. So the first one is with TV1 and Viva.co.id, which is, I think, one of Indonesia's largest media conglomerates. What we're building for them is essentially a personalized news feed where we take like their millions of articles, their database of millions of articles and videos, and we use those to train, to fine tune a large language model. And after fine tuning that large language model, customers or like users, they could essentially request their own personalized like kind of journalism, where they would get news specifically based on their preferences. And obviously, as you ask more and more questions as a user, we get to know your preferences better, and we'll be able to essentially deliver bite-sized news feeds, kind of like your own personalized newsletter for you. And yeah, that's one of the applications that we've built for TV1 and Viva. The next one that we're doing is with Astro Awani, actually. So been a while since I was last in Malaysia, but looking forward to get back there soon. But what we're building with Astro, I think we're starting with like basically the first step of a larger project. But this one is essentially an NLP program to um, improve their headlines. So as you know, when there is some kind of news happening in the world today, you would write into a story, and you want to make sure that people click that story. And the thing that would make people click it is like if the headline is attention grabbing. So a bit of a clickbait, but not too clickbaity. So you want to retain, like you want to make sure that it is not spreading any kind of misinformation, but at the same time optimizes the SEO. So that is the second project that we're building in the media industry, where uh, we take an article that has been written by a journalist, and then from there we make sure we give several recommendations for headlines that would improve their SEO metrics, and we cross-check this with like Google Trends and several other sources as well on which on which keywords or which phrases are trending at the moment. The third project that we're doing in the media industry is a partnership with Mola TV, which is essentially an equivalent to kind of like a mix between like Netflix and also like cable television hybrid. It's based in Indonesia, And what we're building with them is a customer engagement platform where we connect with, where we can reach out to their customers, both outbound and inbound, if their customers want to reach out to us regarding anything. So starting from, oh, I have a problem with my streaming, all the way to what kind of content what kind of new exciting content is there right now, or are there any new packages or promotions that I can buy? So anything that would be related to communications with their end users, we have built essentially an omni-channel platform where customers can reach out through various media platforms such as like WhatsApp, Instagram DMs, Facebook Messenger, even their own app. So yeah, that is the third use case. The fourth use case is with the Indonesian Commission. I'm not actually. I think they just essentially they supervise all the content that is being distributed in Indonesia right now, both like TV and radio, and also streaming as well. And what we do is we analyze all the live streams and we identify which parts are violating the broadcasting laws of Indonesia. Like, for example, if there are cigarettes, or there's gore and blood, or swear words, or sexual content. So we would essentially annotate them and label them. So we would monitor it for them. And we're currently building like a censorship program where we would automatically censor these violations in order to protect like the younger viewers. So I guess I don't have too much time left. I probably only have like a minute or something. So just want to talk about the challenges so far. That's me and my brother, by the way. So I think one of the challenges of working in the media industry is that we have to work with legacy systems, which could be outdated or incompatible with current technologies. So there's been a lot of workarounds that we needed to do throughout the whole process. The next one is obviously data bias, because if we use data from like a specific news source, we have to make sure that data is objective and fair and is the ground truth. And I think that is another challenge that we've been dealing with, because I think several news sources, especially the opinion pieces, we have to make sure that it is not creating bias in the overall output that we deliver to the users. And then the third one, when it comes to AI, generative AI itself, is obviously data legitimacy. Some large language models can hallucinate. They can say that certain things happen when they didn't. So we have to make sure that like the AI operates on those bounds, that it is unable to create predictions. It is unable to say that certain things have happened when they actually have not. So I think those are the three challenges that we faced. But yeah, I think my time has ran out. So looking forward to any questions that you guys have. But thank you so much for your time. Here's my contact info. And yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Devin. I have parked a couple of questions because I think these are definitely, food for thought, and also maybe learning from some of the platform experiences. I think when it comes to moderation, as well as one of your projects with the media sector is involved. So we'll park the questions, and hopefully there'll be some feedback as well from the group. So I'm going to move on to Shahizan, who is with Astro and has been a key person also in organizing this. So Shahizan, what are some of the sort of expectations? What are you looking forward to in terms of the role of AI in the news industry? And also, I think, in terms of innovation, we also want to find out what are some of the strategies that can be used.
Should I share the slide now, or?
It's up to you. Yeah, if you want
maybe
to.
we can share the slides.
Yeah.
Greetings. I'm Monica, your guide to the future of news at Astro Awani.
REE adalah singkatan bagi elemen nadir bumi. Sesi hari kedua saya jual.
this is one of our project. It's actually a way for us to introduce AI as part of tools in journalism. You know, AI can be used across the value, across from planning to writing to transcribing to publishing. So I think our next speaker will talk about that. Azim will talk about that. But me personally, especially since last year, when we started this group called Multi-Platform News Innovation Team, what we want to do is to use whatever solution that we already have, right, provided by Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, and free, eh, and how to increase the AI literacy. AI literacy simply means that you don't misuse it, you know how to use it properly, right? And you know what are the opportunities, you know, just to identify the opportunities. So, okay, this is my slide. So if you can go back. So it says here why we turned Awani into an AI CV organization in less than 1 year, right? So I'm trying to. So number one, as I said, AI is already here, but there's a lot of reluctance, right? Especially at even in our working level, right? And because of AI, misusing it would also will affect the quality, right? And very very important to actually to realize that, you know, our journalism is we're facing a lot of problems, a lot of challenges, and this is among the challenges. But this is also can help, right? So whatever we do towards the end is about to uphold the journalism sanctity. Okay, so we are very cautious before when we communicate with our colleagues in Awani, right? This is what we will tell them. Hey, AI is useful, but be cautious. Number one, what limits of the AI, all right? It cannot the challenges when it comes to biasness, journalism etiquettes, right? These are the challenges, right? And it's very important for our team members to understand the limitations, right? I have a lot of examples whereby a journalist using ChatGPT to write stories, and then of course the story will come incorrect, and they say, "Oh, this is stupid. I'm not going to do this again." Right? Just because they don't know how to use it, and for what reason and for what cost, right? Okay, next. Okay, so our big picture, 3, to enhance the human quality, to enhance our products. I also have to to safeguard the sanctity of journalism. All right, next. So now to implement the big picture. Remember, we had a discussion earlier, right? To bridge the gap, right? So to implement the big picture is number one, to future-proofing the newsroom and instilling the growth mindset. Okay, this is the big picture. Future-proofing the newsroom, instilling the growth mindset, and number 2, enriching grow the talents. So because we believe that AI is not just the future, but it's coming now. If we don't go with the flow, then we'll just be irrelevant. And at the same time, these are also our challenges: dwindling revenue, increased competition with the non-traditional media companies, the platforms, right? New approach to news. There's a new approach to news and new approach to news consumption trend, right? For instance, if you write news for TikTok, you cannot use the same format, right? The form is different, so you have to change the way you write, right? And IR 4.0, emerging technologies and risk of job replacement. So there's a lot of my colleagues in Awani and outside of Awani, they're worried, you know, AI might take over their job. So it's about trying to tell them and make them understand that you have to work around it. When we use AI, right, in Astro Awani, it's about when we wanted to, it's about the adoption, right? So currently our adoption rate is quite high. I'm going to show you the data later, right? But when I preach to my colleagues, the AI is about shorten the processes, you know, and then when the processes, let's say if usually last year before AI, you would spend 1 to 2 hours to do transcribing. Now AI can transcribe for you, so you have better time, you have more time, and to focus on other priorities, other stories that will require human intelligence. And also, so comes a better prioritization and enhance the workflow. So our adoption is quite okay, right? The number is quite. I'm very happy with the number. So this is what we do. So when you want to bridge the gap, it's about getting them to use it properly, right? And then the only way to do it is to increase the adoption rate, right? So to preach to our team members. Number one, what we do is to reimagine future newsroom. It's about preaching them what would be the future newsroom would be, right? Number two, to identify early adopters, right? We use this approach, and then are you aware of 2080 approach kind of thing? So you identify 20% of your team members, and
We'll do
then
80% of the work.
and then it will grow. The number will grow, right?
Okay.
Right. And of course, we celebrate every milestone. So since last year, there's a lot of projects when it comes to AI, and then it's about also telling them, hey, we're doing fine. Okay, so for those who still worried about using AI, still unsure about it, okay, don't worry, we're gonna guide you, right? Impact and result assessment. So I'm gonna show you in the next. Okay, so the one main thing that really helped us to bridge the gap is Tanya AI. Tanya AI is actually Ashwat's idea, his idea. So it really helps to create this transition. If you remember the video earlier, all right. So the video earlier is about we use avatar to actually read the news, and then usually those news they are not hard news. We chose usually factoids, you know, they're not just hard news. They're not hard news, right? So we know that according to the response that we've got, if an avatar reads hard news, then people will believe. People are just not ready yet. So when we use Tanya AI, it's about sharing the general knowledge. So to do this, we create a very so it's an explainer video using avatar, macam tadi, like just like. And then we also use other Gen AI tools such as ChatGPT, Bing, Perplexity, right? So we utilize AI-powered tools for research and content creation, all right? And then the template avatar. So in some news channel, right, when they wanted to do this, when they wanted to have avatar to read or to present content, usually they would create themselves. They were not gonna use template avatar. We are very cheap. We just use template avatars, right? Because we believe in to save time and to save money. So if you want to have a specialized avatar, you need to spend more money. And then accessibility, making it accessible and user friendly for everyone. So basically, when we do this, the workflow is very tangible. Everyone in the newsroom can see what in each solution for what purpose, right? So for avatar is about presenting. For research is about using Bing or Perplexity. For writing, assisting you with writing and better grammar and all that, or it's OpenAI ChatGPT. So we increase our AI friendliness in Astro Awani. According to my own research, 95% of our team members embracing and utilizing AI solutions already in Awani. 30 to 40% enhancement in workflow efficiency due to AI adoption. That's happening now. 40% 40% less time required for various processes, including translation, transcription, research, and editing. And then, of course, it's also boosting productivity across departments with significant time saving. Just imagine, back then, before we have Bing AI or Perplexity, we do a lot of breaking news. So news anchor, sometimes they don't have time to do research. And to tap, they had to go in front of camera and do breaking news. So these are the things that would help them. So I usually talk to our anchors, say, hey, don't worry, research now is easier to do now. So these are among the case study lah. And of course, we have other case studies.
Right.
Do you have more? Okay.
Maybe closing it.
This is the closing. So again, AI is about creativity augmentation. So it's also about adhering. The challenge also now is about adhering to standards, right? Of course, our ethic, our journalism code of conduct, so on and so forth. And always be worried, especially now. I'm not too sure about what's going to happen maybe into the next 2-3 years, but always be very cautious about using AI because it's a very infancy stage. And the best is now because there's a lot of things have been had been automated. So our reporters have more time to focus on the things that matter more. All right. So for us, our philosophy, Ashrat will explain more about the philosophy. It's about marrying the quality, the best quality of journalism and the latest technology.
Okay.
All right. So that's it.
Okay. Thank you. I will take on the last point then, just have our audiences also think about a time where you are struggling, news outlets are struggling with coping with these changes and how audiences and the public are consuming information. Whether and we discussed this before as well. We've struggled to have media literacy. Now we're going to have AI literacy.
Double struggle.
Yeah, so there was a pre-digital period. Now it's a pre-AI period and post-AI period. So I think we are also, I think the gaps there include the sort of media, the comfort levels of audiences in understanding the various structures and issues. So maybe that's a question that can be floated later and also to get perspectives from the others as well. So I'm going to move to Ernest, who's spent some time and furthered his research and studies in this area, working with the Associated Press, and to get your perspectives in terms of where some of these innovations have been implemented, but also what your observations are in terms of its impact, the sort of quality that we're talking about, the ethical standards, sort of making sure that these are sort of, at the, being balanced out sufficiently. Ernest, floor is yours.
And so I just want to say good morning to everybody. My name's Ernst Kang. I am the AI product manager at the Associated Press. I'm based in Los Angeles. Thank you so much to Astro Awani and the university for inviting me to speak about our work. My background is in broadcast journalism. I spent 15 years as a writer and producer in local TV news before I paused my career to do a master's in business information systems. My research was on AI for journalism, and that led me to my current role at AP. Now, the AP has a global footprint with journalists in nearly 100 countries around the world. We've been around since 1846, and our longevity is tied in part to technological innovation. Generative AI is our latest challenge. Last month, we released our second major research report on the state of AI in journalism. The report focuses on generative AI. In the next few minutes, I will review some of the top level findings of our report, and I'll show you two examples of how generative AI has been applied in projects that I've led for newsrooms. In collaboration with academic partners at Northwestern University and the University of Amsterdam, we conducted a global survey of working journalists in December 2023. The participants were invited using AP's list of journalists who have participated in our AI events, such as webinars and free classes. As such, Over 80% of the respondents said they were knowledgeable about generative AI. Nearly 3/4 of them said they were already using generative AI themselves or in their organization's work. To be clear, our sample involves journalists who are most able to experiment with AI.
Mhm.
How do these respondents use AI in their organization? In either experimental or regular uses, the most common application was for text content production. Nearly 70% of respondents told us that. That's not surprising, considering how ChatGPT burst onto the scene in November 2022. Going down the list, we see journalists using generative AI for information gathering and sense making, along with multimedia content production. Business needs and translation round out the top 5 applications. Overall, we see there is a focus on improving existing workflows using generative AI, and there is less attention being spent on using generative AI for new experiences. We also asked response to dream a bit. If generative AI could produce quality results, what tasks would they like it to address? At the top of the list remains text content production, with well over 3/4 of respondents saying that's the top of their wish list. Overall, the requests focus on obtaining help with analyzing, getting, and processing data and information. There's a theme of reducing activities considered boring, repetitive, or tedious. And our research suggests that any new generative AI based tool will need to have a human verification as a component. Our research also explores the topics of ethics and responsible use of generative AI. The biggest concern among respondents was the potential for no human supervision. That's followed by a fear of wrong information or bias in the output of generative AI. The findings also show that there's an ongoing effort to balance benefits with ethical practices. An example would be banning or limiting the generation of entire pieces of published content. At the same time, most journalists say that editors, managers, and executives are the most responsible for ensuring ethical uses of generative AI. That role should not fall to technologists, according to our research. And you might be wondering where a discussion of responsible use of generative AI should begin. For some people, 1 in 5 journalists told us that discussion simply ends by saying they will not use generative AI. Yet, for journalists who are willing to experiment, they cite verifying the output and operating within clear and concrete guidelines and legal frameworks as key starting points. There is recognition that additional training is needed to support responsible use. And critically, the research finds one thing not mentioned by our respondents. If you think about this carefully, responsible use of generative AI could start with the vetting of tools during the procurement process. Finally, our research concludes with a look ahead. There are 5 main areas where we see opportunities for news organizations and for those of you helping to train the next generation of journalists to pursue in the area of generative AI. The 5 areas are policies, practices, research, design, and training. For policies, we recommend concrete guidelines that enforce responsible and ethical use of generative AI. We suggest that responsible practice includes human oversight. Further, we're calling for new research on exactly what areas generative AI might produce the most performance gains. Next, we find that generative AI will work best when paired with clever user interfaces and experiences that support human journalists. And lastly, there must be comprehensive training for generative AI, from writing prompts to thinking about how to build a new workflow. Moving now to 2 projects I led that incorporate generative AI. This was part of 5 experimental projects that we built for local newsrooms in the United States. Let's begin with our project for KSAT TV in Texas. The goal was to allow digital producers the ability to publish a story faster, resulting in a higher overall volume of stories available on their digital platforms. The diagram you see is a simplified flowchart of what we built. The blue boxes represent ordinary process automation, and the green boxes represent AI processes. Our system allows users to upload a video where it is then transcribed using AI. That transcript is then sent to OpenAI's GPT 3.5 for summarization. And that summarization is delivered into the CMS for review by a journalist before publication. Note that we have a human in the loop at the end to validate the content created by generative AI. Let's move on to WFMZ TV in Pennsylvania. The goal of this project is to reduce workloads for assignment editors by helping them identify emails that contain a potentially newsworthy event. There are two forms of AI used here. First, we have a custom trained classification model to determine whether an email contains a newsworthy event. If it does, the email is sent to OpenAI's GPT 3.5 to extract the event details. Note that generative AI provides a capability that previously would take significant amounts of coding work to resolve. That's because an email can contain multiple dates and times that appear in a variety of contexts. So, we found that generative AI has the ability to resolve that complexity. Next, we use OpenAI's GPT 3.5 again to summarize the email. And finally, we deliver the event information to the planning calendar section of the CMS for review by a journalist. And that's my presentation. I hope you can reach out to me here. And be sure to visit our website, ai.ap.org, to download our new report on generative AI and to get updates on our work.
Thank you, Ernest. Thank you for sharing the report, the findings of the report. I found that really interesting, especially when you had a respondent say that basically the decisions in terms of the ethical considerations should be left to the editors and the team itself rather than the technologists. And maybe I'll throw this back to Devin for a later conversation, if possible, in terms of how, you know, through the technology, because of content moderation, for example, how do we sort of address the differences? Thank you for the projects. May I quickly ask, Ernest, if you would consider the two television stations that you were supporting as smaller broadcasters, smaller media within their area? And would this be an example of actually providing support for, say, you know, much smaller independent media outlets?
Absolutely, definitely. So KSAT TV is owned by a group, but it's a small group of TV stations, all local operators in the United States. WFMZ TV is actually an independently owned operation. It is the definition of small television news.
Okay, excellent. And so far, the three speakers have actually talked about workflow, the way in which AI is expected to amend and change some of the workflow, where you're looking at some functions that are being assigned to the AI functions. And I would like to throw this to the floor as well. When you think about workflow, are you thinking about redesignating roles, the human roles, so to speak? Where would the expertise come in? What are we looking at? Because Ernest, you talk about you know, what institutions need to start training potential journalists. So just to throw that into the air, so, you know, hopefully someone can pick that up. Let me move on to Sim Loy Loy, who is the chief news editor at the Star Media Group and has had vast experience in news, reporting news, covering news, including environmental news. Loy Loy, what is the sort of environment within the Star's newsroom? What are you looking at? What are some of the sort of maybe excitement points, but also fears and challenges with AI among the team members in the Star?
Okay. Well, first off, I'd just like to tell everyone, I'm a last-minute replacement for my boss. Okay. And if I could replace myself with AI, I would. Okay. To tell you the truth, that in the Star, we already have a policy on AI, on the use of AI among our journalists and also among our other staff. At the moment, is okay. How would I say it? We have already used AI in our workflow. Okay. But these are basically you know, in the background, mostly for, you know, things like uploading story, sometimes editing stories, and also like translation. How do we visualize data, you know, etc. but of course, there must always be a human component in the entire workflow. And because the star believes that whatever that we present, we must have a human face to it. So let's say if I am writing an article, it is my article. It has my byline. You know me. You know how it look like. Okay. But let's say maybe I could use AI or ChatGPT to make my explanation of certain terms or certain ideas in my article a bit clearer, but it could never replace me. So the article still have to be me. I mean, be from myself, you know.
Yep.
Yeah. And that's how we feel in the start about it. And but we have implemented many AI tools in also our workflow as well.
Okay. At this point, would a reader of the star be able to identify?
No.
I have posed the question. So no.
No.
So and this I suppose brings
We deliberately make it that way.
Okay.
Okay.
So it raises the question of transparency, right? Of where the tools come in. I mean, for the academics in the room, I think we are struggling with the ChatGPT because we are unable to distinguish where the information or the write-up is authentic content, the one with the human face, and where it has been enhanced for sometimes it's good reason because you want to sort of come up with good quality write-ups, but also it's very gray area because we do not know which parts are sort of assigned to the AI. So I think on Lola's last point about no, you don't actually declare.
Okay, let me clarify that.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
We do, however, use AI to inspire us. Okay,
Okay.
so especially in the graphic design, okay, sometimes format design, but we do indicate clearly with a disclaimer that this is inspired by AI.
Yeah. That's probably the simpler parts of it, right?
Yes.
And I think like when Shaisan, you talked about the avatars, you talked about the reading of maybe some of the more less hard news, I think it's easier to sort of make that declaration. It's when I suppose information is now received through Facebook, through WhatsApp, which are the platforms that everyone is using to obtain their information. Where is it possible for the reader to understand that this is the contribution of AI or the use of AI, right? Because then I think it comes to the question of accountability as well, where you do have maybe disputes to stories or, and we see that every day. In the Malaysian context, forever people are saying, hey, I never said that, or, we're disputing. So I'm going to also just raise that as both an opportunity, but also when we think about the audiences and the consumers, how are we actually engaging them to understand the process, right? But I'm just going to keep that in the air. Potential questions for the panelists to respond to, but also maybe from the audience to want to pick up and pursue any of this. So I'm going to maybe just ask very quickly if any of the panelists wants to respond to each other. Maybe I give you about 2-3 minutes if you just want to pick on each other's points. I don't know if you can say, please raise your hand for those on the screen. But if you can indicate to me if you want to respond, just let me know. But I am going to open the floor actually for interventions and inputs, either based on your own experiences or your own queries to any of the panel members. So let me just start with Devin. Devin, is there anything you would like to maybe quickly jump into and respond?
No, I think just open to any questions.
Okay. How about Ernest?
I will talk about a little bit about the changing work roles. The Associated Press, as a standard in this age of generative AI, we want to make it very clear that we do not see AI as a replacement for journalists. There is no substitute for eyewitness journalism. There is no substitute for human-to-human contact. And so that's our baseline. As we look for generative AI to be added into our workflows, it is about supplementing the human journalists. It's not about replacing them.
Okay, great, thanks. And any one of you want to?
Yeah, I would like to respond to the policy, and I think it's very good. It's the way forward, and it's also all about transparency. Yeah, because the challenge that we have now in journalism is the trust level.
Yeah.
The people's trust in journalism has gone down, right? in other countries such as Australia, it's just bad, right? Ours, I'm not too sure, but I think we're not that bad.
Not so bad, but not so
bad.
great.
So and we don't want to worsen this by misperception of AI. So transparency is very important, and that is why we also need to publish, and we need to have every newsroom would need to have their own guidelines, right? And be transparent about it.
I have two questions actually. Ernest, we have a copy of your report?
I pass to you later.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. And then the second one is like to you. When you were saying that 80%, I mean like 45% is using AI now in your newsroom. How do you measure that actually?
Okay. So this research was done last year. So I asked a group of journalists in Astro Awani and see where and how they use AI across the process, right? So that's how I gauge the numbers.
Okay.
Right.
Do you have like weekly meetings with your staff, or is?
We used to have earlier last year when we started this initiative, the AI initiative. So what we did was we have pockets of small groups of sessions, copy sessions, right? And try to gauge what kind of their perceptions toward AI, and see how it can come in. Because my mandate was to improve the adoption, because that's the way to solve the problem, right? The way we talk about the AI literacy,
right? And
also not the AI literacy, which also covers not misusing it, so on and so forth, right? So a lot of personal approach, right?
Okay.
Because each individual would have different perception. If you talk to a younger people who are very, very used to having, let's say when I started journalism, Google Translate was not as effective. But we didn't have Google Translate. But now Google Translate has improved a lot.
Yeah.
So each generation will have different relationship with technology, right? So what we did was more personalized approach, right?
Okay, can I just turn to the floor if there are inputs and interventions? Any hands up, burning?
I'll mention very quickly that our report is at ai.ap.org. ai.ap.org.
Thanks, Ernest. Everyone's looking for it now. Yes.
My name is Sandeep, and I'm from University of Nottingham. I'm Gayathry's colleague. Can you think of an example of a story or report that you would not do with AI? Because I want to see where that goes.
Okay, we'll have that question. Maybe another one. Yes, on this side.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll maybe collect 2, 3 so that we can get panelists to just ponder over it.
Good morning. Thank you for this opportunity. I'm Munira Alatas. I'm an independent scholar and deputy chair of the Academic Movement of Malaysia. My question is for all participants, speakers. What are the stories that require human intelligence as opposed to the stories that require or can be substituted with AI? But I would like the answer to be contextualized in the Malaysia political scene, if that's possible. Because, I mean, we have a lot of problems politically because of AI as well, so because of its abuse. So try to answer that. Thank you.
Okay, that's the contextual one. And maybe one more, just looking around. Anyone else? Can I throw one into the mix?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So we have machine learning that's important. We have context that's important. How do we account for diverse languages Who's training the machine in order to understand all of these things that then produces the kind of nuances that you want? Okay, Shahizan? Yeah.
So stories that I will not use AI because AI can be used in many process. So let's say if transcription, if I don't use AI to write, to help me with writing, then I can use it for transcription, yeah, especially in English, right? Not so much in Bahasa because our transcription model in Bahasa still very bad, all right? But there always be opportunity, small or big, you know, across the process of one story on how we use AI. I think there's already in the market CMS powered by AI, right? Helping us to simplify and stuff. This is especially in English, right? So to answer your question, sir, it's difficult now, especially now in this context, English, to not to have AI or not to ignore AI because it's across the process. And we also have solution providers, right? The CMS developers, for instance, they are big on trying to improve their products by including AI in their products. So yeah, but the challenge now is language, right? We are working with Masa now to have more, especially in Malaysia. The open learning, open AI model, they confuse bahasa Malaysia and bahasa Indonesia, right?
Yes,
Yeah. So that's a big problem.
Yes.
So we're working with Masa.ai, Devin and his team on how to create an ecosystem, a solution that can distinguish Indonesia and Malaysia. So that's a big challenge which we are working on now.
Yeah. So I'm just going to say, is there contextually any stories you would not give, say, run it through the machine learning? So you would have to have.
So because technically,
OG.
Yeah.
Because technically, across the process, there will always be human intervention from transcription. So this person get the machine transcribed, and then they will look at it one by one. Just the difference is they don't have to type it their own.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But for now, maybe it's more technical lah, because Malay language is not so robust. So I cannot rely on certain processes when it comes to Malaysian language.
Loyola, would you have an answer on context
Well,
and
actually,
issues?
I agree with him because actually, the use of AI is kind of embedded into our workflow, and we try, for instance, like when we do a story, we try to make sure that the story belongs to us. I think that I wrote this story, but I use it for transcription. I use AI for transcription, sometimes for translation, and sometimes to clean out a bit of the explanation of certain points or references. But it's embedded in the workflow, and it's maybe I would think I will not use AI to capture the tone in my article, perhaps.
So you want to keep your tone.
Yes,
right?
and that maybe I would decide that it's really embedded into our workflow, so it's hard to say I will not use AI to do this story. And sometimes when we upload the stories into our website, we use AI again.
Okay. So just moving on, maybe Ernest, are there any stories that AP would say yes,
No.
or no to, right?
Well, yeah, the answer is to no, right? So the negative at the moment would be the vast majority of stories that AP produces. Anywhere from investigations to day of reporting on political events. We talk about the political context. I see no possibility that a political story about, especially now we are in an election year here in the United States, that would have any AI helping to write such a thing. That would be impossible. But or to help produce that in any way. I'll be clear though that AP does not currently have any standards that allow for generative AI content. So even if we had standards that allowed that, it would never be used on a political story these days. Simply the stakes are too high. And for AP, because of our model that we are a not-for-profit member-owned cooperative where clients pay us for the main raw content, it has to be accurate. And so the risk is too high.
All right. So can I move? Do you want to respond to that, Shahida?
Munira's
Yeah. So the
question,
context
right?
one. Do you want to?
Yeah,
Yes. Yes. Please go ahead.
So when it comes to politics in Malaysia, there are certain things that we can automate already. For instance, I can foresee it is easy to create crawlers on election results, right? And that can be automated, right? Because we would receive, the newsroom will receive, let's say, the results from Bernama will flash, and we key in manually, and then from key in data manually to text for crawlers, that can be automated. So those are the things. But when it comes to more nuances, things like that, I won't. Yeah, I won't. I mean, of course, AI for transcription. If I interview this one guy from this party A, and especially if he speaks in English, he or she speaks in English, we would just use the transcription machine, right?
So I'm going to wrap up this session, and I want to thank Ernest for joining us from afar, but also sharing very, very useful information for us to look at. Thank you very much, and good luck also on your future projects. David is no longer here, but we appreciate his participation, and to Shahizan as well as Loy.
Thank
Do you have
so
any other
much.
questions? Please grab your coffee and continue the conversation. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.